my jam, I feel good.
So Howard, all of these stocks are within 5% of new highs.
Right.
There's about 70 of them.
Perfect.
If we did 10%, it would have been about 130, about double. 135.
Where's the market cap? So I want to find, yeah. And so one other list that we got to get, and I got to get it from, I got to send this list to Mike Bozzello or Rishi, is now put the social relative strength in here to make it our own and say which of these have the least amount of followers. So then we want to run this against stocks that have the least amount of followers.
Yes.
And that'll make this, that's what will give this extra sex appeal that only we have.
Right? What's the little sprinkle?
A little social dust, little social sprinkles.
No, but you're
little Howie, how you doing? You know.
But Howie, your favorite names that you always say like don't get any love on stocks with, they're on here. You see Coupa?
Yeah, Coupa, I kind of missed because I didn't. So generally, what happens here is it's not perfect for me. I try and find, if you're trying to ride for 8 to 10 baggers and take the volatility and trade less technicals, you have to be able to have a circle of trust or a circle of people. Generally, best if it's just you that has such an understanding of the catalyst for the growth, because you can't worry about quarter to quarter. You have to really, the perfect two examples are when I started thinking this way was Chipotle's and Apple. It's like when I was going to the Apple store in 2004, and like no one was thinking about Apple at a trillion. I was just thinking, wait a minute, these this AirPod, or not the AirPod, the iPod is just, I'm a complete non-Apple person. I fucking am reimagining, like my music, like all my music that I love. And that was the catalyst for me. It was like people and the store. Okay, you flash forward.
What do you listen to? What do you listen to, Lindzon? I can only imagine what's on that fucking iPod.
It's just if my AirPods could talk. First they'd say, "Oh, clean your ears," and then next they would say, "You really are a boring guy."
I was gonna say, I feel like you listen to podcasts, not music.
No, I am literally a non-discover guy. I literally go to the same 500,000 classic rock songs, depending on my mood, and I'll switch a little bit of folk if I'm like in the mood, and maybe jazz, but not when I'm working out. But
you listen to jazz when you're working out, you maniac?
No, not when I'm working out. So I'm saying very classic rock anthem kind of.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that gets me motivated. Now, why I'm so bullish on podcasts, obviously, is because I've become a customer or a user, and I found that Spotify over Apple was the reason I'm number one. I mean, it's my biggest position. It's been publicly for a couple months when it broke out at 160.
You think that they're going to dominate that space, right?
I don't think there's any. It's such a big space. You don't even. There is no dominant. Tencent's huge. Music, Apple.
And these were all former mid caps, baby.
Think about
growing up before our very eyes.
Think about Sirius. Sirius was this radio. So we know one thing: radio is dead. Okay,
yeah.
And radio used to rule America. So in a world where radio times 100, which is what digital is, and take out all the costs other than now with podcasts, no cost.
And now international versus local.
Every nook and cranny of the world, right? So it's like the brand of Bitcoin with that business model, right? And that's Spotify. It's software. It's like water. It just seeps everywhere. And I don't know how many countries are in. And no one's going to leave. It's been time.
So here are the groups, Howard. Ready? So solar, software infrastructure, software applications, semi equipment, medical devices, internet retail, internet content and info technology services, obviously, electronic gaming and multimedia, and education and training services. That's it.
Okay, so let's go one by one, and I'll tell you how I would think.
Solar.
Okay, so solar, I put on. If you wanted to pull up, I haven't gone with the leader here. I did a spec trade right now in First Solar, which is just the perennial. It's the wrong way to do this probably, but it's the dog of the space, and it's been bumping up against all-time highs for like a bazillion years.
The mid cap, 8 billion.
So take a look at the chart if you want. But First Solar is kind of, I call it like the knocking on heaven's door formation.
There's that classic rock. I see what you did there, Howard. I see what you did there.
Rock anthems.
First Solar, one of my favorite tunes.
Okay, but this will fit. So listen. So what are we looking at? First Solar, $8 billion market cap, and it's pressing up against new 9-year highs. That counts.
So again, there's better stocks in that sector, SEDG and Run. But I'm saying solar's not for me because I have conviction in the sun, don't get me wrong. I just don't know the tech, like.
So you're bullish sun?
Well, obviously everybody's bullish on the sun. Everybody's moving to the Southwest. But I'm saying, so sun makes sense. Now, if lunatics stay in charge where drilling holes in the ground still makes sense, all bets are off. But the market is trying to speculate. People, like money is speculating what would happen if the Democrats ran, if everything ran blue, and solar would probably be a beneficiary. And then the question is that already making its run? So if you want to do a speculative bet, solar. So you can either play it with TAN, which is the ETF, probably a better play for the neophyte like me, or you take a flyer on some First Solar options, which I took some flyer on. Next category in this list right now. But it makes sense that solar's running. I just don't have any real conviction over the space.
Software infrastructure.
Hold on. First Solar didn't make the list when, if you look at that base, it really kind of should.
I didn't make the list because it's a turd of a company.
No, it doesn't make the. Why doesn't it make the list? Of course, it makes the list. It's pushing up against 9-year highs. It's an $8 billion market cap.
Can I go? It's 6.5% away from 52-week highs. That's why I think we need to.
Oh, so it's right
there.
But
the problem was when I put on the position a couple of days ago, it was basically at.
Well, it'll come on the radar as it breaks out. It'll
come on, it'll come off. But maybe we expand that to like 7.5%.
But internally, we have it to 20%. So internally, we get the data that goes from 1.5 billion to.
No list is perfect. You said solar, I would go with TAN or whatever's on the list. But I'm saying I'm just ripping.
Right, but what about? So what about?
Like Stone Co is another example. 7.3% from highs, not on the list. It's on our internal larger list, but it's not on the truncated list.
All right, well, this is what you learn. Stone's on my
software infrastructure, Howard.
All-time high right now. I don't get it.
No,
software infrastructure like CrowdStrike, CRWD is a good example. That's on the list.
Should be on the list. It's been a home run, obviously in a world of espionage and. It's just not a sector. I mean, if I ask anybody in Silicon Valley, that's the name Zscaler and CrowdStrike.
Akamai,
I own
18 billion on its way, baby. CHWY.
No, Akamai has modern competitors.
CHWY's internet retail.
Akamai has competitors in modern companies like Cloudflare and Fastly. So those have been way better performers. Again, sometimes you have to understand the sector. So I own Cloudflare, which is an Akamai, is in the exact same Akamai space. It's just a better company.
What about software application? There's a bunch of them there. Definitely, Howard. HubSpot.
Yeah. Again, I don't own enough of this sector. No one does, but this is the sector that's been running for 2-3 years.
There's some hot names on this. This list is sexy, baby. I like this list.
HubSpot was on our coronavirus list. Man, that thing's up 5% today. That was a nice base breakout earlier.
The whole coronavirus index was a beast. All right, what about medical devices, Howie?
Well, so IHI is my proxy. That's in my 8 to 80 list. So IHI, because I don't understand medical device, I'm not a doctor.
Abbott Labs killing it.
Oh,
yeah, but it's pulling back to that. IHI is my way of same with solar. If in certain industries, if you don't have an edge and you see them performing strongly, the easiest way to participate is through an ETF, which I'm not a fan of ETFs. I like the pure alpha of a stock and no fees and the simplicity of understanding one business at a time. But, another example is IHI is a really good ETF that holds a basket of the largest and broadest medical instruments. So that's been a home run way to play that trend. I think it's an 8 to 80 trend, right? And it's a very global trend.
Explain what 8 to 80 is. That you can either be 8 years old or 80 years old and use the product. That's what 8 to 80 means.
Need the product, use the product, are familiar with certain brands. From the minute you come out of the minute you're 2 years old, you got a fucking iPad. Parents slap an iPad and YouTube in front of you, right? And so Google and Apple are probably the first two brands, maybe Netflix, maybe Amazon, that are infant. I mean, in China, maybe WeChat, maybe Tencent or Baba, but in the U.S., North America, a baby is born, and here's Google or Apple 1,000 times, just like mommy and daddy. So that's Facebook. So those are examples of 8 to 80 brands: Nike Swoosh, McDonald's Arches, Lululemon. I think Tesla. One mistake I've made is I haven't had Tesla on there because it just didn't get profitable until recently. But Tesla,
because 8-year-olds can't drive Teslas.
But they want them.
So good. I'm OG, overly grateful for the chance to kill the beat, bro. Cain and Abel ain't trying to lay low, peep the shine.